Okay, welcome to the interview. Why don't you start by introducing yourself? Tell me your name, your tag, and where you're from.
Hi, I'm JQ, mostly go by Serendipity, and I'm from San Diego.
And if you're a student, tell me what your year and major is.
Yeah, I'm a student here. I'm class of 27. Major, currently intended computer science cog sci.
Hmm, very common. Uh, when did you start playing fighting games, and what was your first game?
So I started playing fighting games through Dragon Ball Fighters. There was this kid in my PE class who was talking about Dragon Ball. I was like Dragon Ball Fighters?
Mm-hmm.
He looked at me and was like, okay, give me your Steam. Let's go play some Fighters. And that was the very first fighting game. But I think I've always been interested in fighting games. The fight stick that I have is actually a Mad Catz TE2 Plus. And
Old school.
old school,
Yeah.
but it's my uncle's stick. So when he stopped playing fighting games in college, he passed it on to me and was like, okay, now you are going to, start playing fighting games.
Damn,
Now
like a
he's
family heirloom. That's crazy.
It's a family heirloom, so I'm trying to keep good care of it, trying to repair it as I can, and then maybe I'll pass it on to someone else someday.
So you already knew about the competitive side of fighting games then, before you even started playing.
Oh yeah, I think I'm a pretty competitive person, so naturally, I asked my friend when we first started playing fighters, like, okay, how do I win?
Yeah.
He was like, well, go watch some competitive fighting games.
So you
right?
skipped straight past the casual button mashing phase. You were
Yeah.
in their frame one.
I've never been a
I
casual.
respect that.
Yeah.
Me neither. So, I think, yeah, there's like, I guess, three pipelines out of all the people I've interviewed. There's like the I played Smash pipeline, and there's the I just wanted to get in and like win pipeline, and then there's the I was casual for 10 years and then I started playing.
Okay, so I won't lie, I did go through the Smash pipeline too.
Okay.
I've had probably 2K hours in Smash. I went to locals,
Which ones?
just Ultimate. But I quit around the time that like the Nairo Zero allegations were coming out. I don't know if you
2020.
remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
around 2020. And I had been playing fighting games for maybe like half that time that I was playing Smash. And then I basically just switched to the fighting games the whole time.
So, did you get on DBFZ like when the game came out, or was it later?
So I started basically.
Okay, we're back. Computer crashed. I was asking you about whether you played DBFZ when the game came out, or when along the game's lifespan. Just like
Yeah, so I started, I think start of season 2,
Mhm.
which after they removed a lot of like the really crazy 50-50 fuzzies, a lot of the four-way mix from the game. So it was, I want to say, in a pretty stable state when I started playing it. I think it was a good time for me to learn. Yeah.
Did you think it was easy to pick up for a beginner?
I think, and I will stand by this, I think DBFZ is one of the most beginner-friendly games that is out there. I think it is beginner-friendly, but it's also extremely easy for an experienced player to punish a beginner. And I think depending on your mindset, right, that can either lead you to say like, oh, maybe this game isn't for me, or, be like I was and be really driven to like improve and get better.
Were you learning this at the same time as Smash?
So I started playing Smash first. I played Smash for a while before. I took like a little bit less time playing Smash, and I basically transferred that time over to playing DBFC. And alongside that, some other fighting games too, just, whatever kind of came up.
Like what, for instance?
So I started playing Third Strike, because my friend wanted to play Third Strike, and I was like, my uncle, who gave me the fight stick, gave me the family heirloom. His game of choice was Third Strike. He was a Makoto main.
Damn.
And so I started playing Third Strike to live up to that legacy.
That's cool. I guess your uncle's like one of the OGs then. Like,
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
played back when the arcade cab still had Third Strike.
He was like telling me that he was thinking about going to like EVO 2015, 2014. Back when he was like college student, just playing fighting games.
That's sick. Yeah. Did you end up picking up anything else apart from DBFZ, or have you been, just mainly playing this single game the whole time?
So at that time, we played mostly DBFZ, a little bit of Accent Core, we played a surprising amount of Garu for some reason, like the old
Mark of the
SNK
Wolves,
Garu
yeah.
Mark of the Wolves. I'm like going through my Steam library and like my Fightcade in my head, like thinking about what we played. But then when Strive came out, I basically switched over to playing Strive almost exclusively for a couple months.
And who'd you play in Strive?
I played Kai and Potemkin,
Mm.
and I think that I want to say marks a little bit of a shift for me as like a fighting game player.
Okay.
In DBFZ, the characters, traditional archetypes aren't like nearly so well represented because every character can kind of do it all, and the system mechanics are pretty ubiquitous.
Mm-hmm.
In Third Strike, I played Ibuki, who's like a very mix-up heavy kind of set play character. Not quite set play, but like a lot of like focus on that like mental game, right?
Yeah.
And in Strive, I picked up Kai, who I would argue is like an OP set play character, right? A lot of like fundamentals,
Yeah.
a lot of just being able to lay down pressure, and Potemkin, who is big glue eater. And that for me was a little bit of a shift in how I play fighting games, right? A lot of my fighting game experience and a lot of how I approach fighting games actually comes from fencing. So I'm a competitive fencer. I've been fencing for like 9-10 years at this point. And so many of the concepts like translate over distance, spacing, timing.
That's cool.
footsies.
Yeah.
And so everything that I approach in fighting games is a culmination of 9-10 years of training in fencing, of like reaction time training and distance training and like looking at targets and weak points and conditioning and all of these different things that I'm thinking about.
That's a sick connection to make. Actually, Anthony and Michael, I don't know if you've met him, are also both fencers. So I guess there's something to say about that connection there. It is real life footsies, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I never thought about how like an actual sport would translate over. I always assumed that real sports were too far removed from fighting games, but I guess there are some concepts that balance each other out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in particular the one that I think about is conditioning. Right, conditioning, really big part of fighting games. Right, if you walk up and you throw it 3 times, right, odds are they're going to expect to throw it again.
Yeah.
Right, in fencing, a lot of that is the same thing. A lot of fencing is about what lines you're attacking in. So, for example, if you want to go high or if you want to go low. And a lot of that conditioning is the same, right? Like I show a high line attack, and then I go low. Same kind of thing.
That makes me want to try fencing. That sounds fun. But, okay, going back to your fighting game history, when you picked up Strive, this was at its launch, right? 2021.
Yep.
Did this become your main game? I guess, fill me in with your history all the way up until you found like the Berkeley Club.
Yeah, so Strive basically became my main game. DBFZ is call it what you want, kind of a dying game. Player base is steadily dropping, whereas Strive is still going strong even to this day. And even when I came here, everyone's playing Strive, right? So much easier to find games in Strive than it is in Fighters, and in general, just easier to get higher level matches, watch higher level matches. So I played a lot of Strive, still kind of playing the variety of fighting games that I was. Some Third Strike, some Garu, a little bit of Exert or Accent Core here and there, a little bit of footsies. When I think I was pretty much just playing Strive all the way up through until I got to college. I took a break from playing fighting games for kind of the end of my junior, start of my senior year. I was busy with college apps and everything going on. I had a little bit of a falling out with my friend who was who I had played fighting games with basically exclusively, and so I took a little bit of a break from there. Actually, Yomi Hustle came out. I want to say 2022, maybe like midway through high school, maybe late high school, and I played a lot of Yomi Hustle when it first came out. I really, really loved that game, and I loved everything that it represented. I think of myself as a very like mental kind of conceptual player. You definitely have like more technical, flashy players, and that game to me is like the ultimate mental aspect of fighting games.
Yeah, I gotta try it one day. The concept is so interesting. So, when you came to Berkeley, were you looking for a fighting game club like as soon as you were on campus, or how did you end up finding the club?
Oh, that's a good question. When I came up, I brought my stick with me because I was like, surely there's fighting gamers up here, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was Caltopia, maybe like walking down Sprout one day, and I saw Fighting Games at Berkeley tabling.
Do you remember who was at the table?
I want to say it was Brian that I saw first. I saw they had setups there. I don't think I played that day. There's too much to do, too much to see. But I noted down the meeting location and the time, and the next Friday that I was free, I made the trek. I was over at Unit 2, so it was a bit of a trek.
Mhm.
Made the trek over to the esports center, and I basically haven't stopped coming since.
Yeah, which semester was that?
That was fall 23. That was my freshman first semester.
Okay, so you've been, it's been a while then. That was from, do you remember which tournaments we were running at the time? Fall 23. It's all jumbled in my head.
Yeah. I want to say there was a Strive tournament that semester.
Man, I barely remember. I think there was Street Fighter 6 as well. I think that was the one that wasn't streamed. And there must have been Melty.
Always Melty. I remember seeing Melty. I remember the day that I came in and started asking for Dragon Ball FighterZ games.
Yeah.
And there were no Dragon Ball FighterZ players. It was a sad day, but it was a happy day because I found some people to play fighting games with.
I remember you teaching me how to play. I played the game for the first time. You taught me how to use the system mechanics. Did you end up picking up like a bunch of new fighting games once you got into the club?
Yeah, so I can't really play fighters here, so I got to pick something else. So I played a lot of Strive because everyone here plays Strive.
Yeah.
I think one of my first memories of being here at the club is like getting my ass beat by Eric's May.
Happens to everyone.
Yeah. So a lot of Strive, and then I just started picking up whatever the fighting game of the week was.
Mhm.
And I was like, no one's gonna play fighters, and Strive's getting boring. Like I might as well go pick something else up. I'm not sure. I don't remember playing. I remember I played some footsies at some point. That was fun. Played a little bit of Skullgirls with some guy whose name I don't remember that came in, was like a Skullgirls player, and then I've never seen him again. And then just recently, I picked up BlazBlue, and now I'd say that's like one of my main games. I definitely put a lot of hours into that. I really like the game. I really like my character. I think I'm so carried. I think The Rock is absolutely busted. I play 9 in BlazBlue. But it's also like that anime fighter experience, coming from Dragon Ball FighterZ, like you're just prepared for all the bullshit that comes.
Yeah.
And having that knowledge of like, oh, I'm full screen. Yeah, this is about where I could get hit. If you're in Street Fighter, right? Like that's not something that you're thinking about.
How do you go about picking your character in a new fighting game?
So I've thought about this a lot. At one point, I tried to think about like my character identity as like, I played Ibuki in Street Fighter, right? Kind of a fast mix of heavy character, but I played Potemkin in Strive. There was a running joke between my friend and I that I would pick anyone, like just going through characters and like trying to find one that I liked. I would just pick a high tier automatically and not know they were a high tier until I checked the tier list. But at this point, I think the way that I pick characters is I like just vibes. Just vibes. I tried to think of something that like unifies all the characters that I pick up.
No, not really.
Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about your team in DVFZ, but I mean Ibuki, Potemkin, 9, that's kind of all over the place.
Yeah. I think I like playing high risk, high reward characters. Except I picked up Rubber Soul for this JoJo's tournament, and Rubber Soul is a very defensively oriented character, so maybe I'll just play anything.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say that is hard for me to play, or that I generally don't like playing, is really high execution characters. Those, I don't know, I just got old man fingers. I guess.
I think that's the case for most people. They appeal to only like a certain type of fighting game players, and most people aren't that type.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I also struggle a little bit with motion inputs. I know. DVFZ player, right? The most complicated input I have to do is like
down or something.
Like a half circle. Oh yeah, we do have downs.
Yeah.
That's tech right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, playing Third Strike, like I had to do a DP input for the first time. I was like, man, this is kind of hard.
It is kind of hard.
I'm playing JoJo's right now and trying to do like 2 buttons at once, like low key kind of hard. And I know that sounds bad, but like
exposing yourself a little bit. Would you consider yourself to be a well-rounded player? Because you've played a lot of different games and a ton of different archetypes as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'd say no. And the answer is because this goes back to the part where I started playing competitively from the start.
Mm-hmm.
To me, a well-rounded player is someone who can do everything at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm just not good enough to be able to say that I do really anything at a high level. You know, I'd say I'm an all-arounder in the sense that like everything that I do is like pretty, the same level. But I wouldn't say I'm like at a high enough level for that.
Humble.
Thank you.
So, you say like a jack of all trades. Do you have any areas where you're particularly excelling or lacking?
Yeah, I think one area that I excel in is the Yomi. It's like being able to read people. Playing pot, like playing 9, those characters have really powerful round start options.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you're just playing round start RPS, right?
Yeah.
Like, do I go for the pot buster? Do I go for my long reaching normal?
Yeah.
And I think learning that RPS has made me like very good at like those kinds of situations.
I do remember playing against your 9 and just like after a couple of round starts I just gave up on trying to do something because you'd always read me every single time.
Exactly. And then in terms of something that I'm lacking, I mean like everything. That's the nature of being a fighting game player. There's always something you can improve on. I think that's the beauty of it.
The true grinder's mindset. I respect that. Is there a game or a character that you'd want to learn, but you never had the time to learn them before?
I tried to pick up Asuka in.
Which one?
In Drive.
Okay.
Yeah, the like Yu-Gi-Oh character.
Yeah.
And I tried for, I think I spent a couple hours, and I was like, man, this just isn't for me. I think I've always wanted to pick up Skullgirls. I think that game is really, really cool. I love like the art style. I love the aesthetic. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you already got like the tag fighter fundamentals.
Yeah, exactly. I want to get really good at DBFZ. Right now I'm okay, but I'm just like, man, I love that game.
I want to hear your opinion on the state of DBFZ in 2025. Like, do you think the game still has hope?
Yes. Okay. This might be a hot take, but I believe in DBFZ wholeheartedly. I think the game is really good right now. Obviously, there's rollback netcode now, so you can like actually play online and not have to deal with it.
Is it good or is it janky?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh,
it's
okay.
good. It's solid. It's good.
I thought it was buggy when it first came out.
It was buggy.
Yeah.
There was a lot of there was like a bug a lot of times where characters would be stuck in like a T pose after their super. That was really funny, but it's good right now. I think the game is in a place where if you like really flashy kind of high pressure, lots of like really long advantage state, really long disadvantage state, lots of like 50-50s. I think DBFZ is a really good place like for that. I love the game. I'm biased. I think more people should play the game. I think it will teach you a lot about like defense and keeping pressure and all these like being able to do like full screen zoning and keep that in your head. I don't know. I think it's a very valuable game for a lot of people who maybe have only played something like Street Fighter.
Now that you say that, would you have any interest in learning like a Marvel 3 or something like that?
Oh, absolutely. I want to learn how to do an Infinite.
I think that would be your kind of game.
Yeah.
Just hearing you talk about the way you talk about DBFZ, I think you would like that.
Yeah. I've seen the J1 clips of Marvel, some of the crazy stuff that's going on. Someone told me that Robot in Yomi Hustle is basically Sentinel in MVC.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm a Robot main in Yomi Hustle, so I do want to play MVC. I don't know. Some part of me really just wants to go back to basics and like just play footsies and just make it my main game. Just get really good.
I feel like, see, this is why I asked if you're a well-rounded player, because you said you like footsies, and then you said you like mix and full screen zoning.
I just like it all.
Yeah, everything.
I just like fighting games. That's it. That's the moral of the story.
It's a good thing to like. Okay, final question for you. I asked this to Wolfgang as well. So you're going to be an officer next semester. Do you have any plans for what the club's going to be like? Any events you want to run?
Oh, absolutely. A DBFZ tournament, first of all, okay?
You got to mark it as a beginner tournament.
Another DBFZ tournament.
Ooh.
And then maybe a trilogy. And then we'll like pit all these people who are like slowly improving at DBFZ. No, I'm fine. I do want to host one DBFZ tournament.
Okay.
I think a footsies tournament would be incredibly high.
That'd be so much fun. I don't know why we haven't done it yet.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, something dumb like Oh man, I went on like a club retreat the other weekend, and they had this like old arcade emulator with like 2 sticks set up like in one console. It was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Jackie Chan, the
Oh,
Jackie
the
Chan fighting
Fist
game.
of Flaming Fist or
Yeah.
whatever, yeah.
I think the other thing that I want to do is, I think the most fun part about a fighting game is picking up like a character for the first time and just playing around, like not looking at the move list, just figuring out what you can do on the fly. I want to do a tournament like that, where we play some fighting game that no one's ever played or heard of, and no one gets any.
Oh,
prep
mystery
time.
game, just
Yeah,
like you
mystery
reveal it
game.
in the spot.
That or a Mugen random only tournament, which is also basically a mystery game.
I like those. Those are good ideas. Okay, actual final question. Just name 3 characters as quickly as you can.
Krillin?
If no, hold on. This is a
Okay.
question. If someone had to win at DBFZ and they've never played it before, what team should they play?
Broly?
Okay.
Goku? And Goku.
Which Goku?
SSJ Goku. And I'll say like Gold Vegeta.
Okay. Thanks for coming to the interview.
Yeah.